got, of course, the hunter over here, Joshua. Hello.
Howdy.
And the post-apocalyptic mutant version of Brian Salisbury.
Yeah, no, it's true. This end of the world is taking longer than the end of Return of the King.
It really is. I mean, are we even at the part where we're all jumping up and down on the bed yet?
I don't know, but I am not ready for another adventure. I'm going to tell you that much.
I'm ready to hug some hobbits, though, I'll tell you what.
Just ready to hug anything at this point right now. That'd be really nice.
Once every 6 months, someone comes out with a theory about Lord of the Rings that's kind of like, why didn't they just do this? Or wait, did anyone notice that? And the latest one, and I'm not exactly clear, but it seems like it has something to do with being racist against the elves. I'm not really sure what's going on, but like the elves didn't even have to go to the Grey Shore or whatever it's called. It's just everybody's a fucking dick in Middle Earth. I'm like, wait, what? Okay, you guys are thinking about this way too hard. I mean, yes, it's true. They could have just sent a battalion of Eagles in and game over, right? But yeah. That's on the Eagles. They're dicks. What do you want?
Well, I mean, it turns out Gandalf is exactly like Jeffrey Lebowski. He's just sitting there going, I hate the fucking Eagles, man. That's why they didn't send them. That's why they didn't send them. Case closed.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me, guys. It's time for that part of the show I like to call, I can take a deep breath and say, what have you guys been watching or playing or reading or doing? Brian, you're not allowed to list playing with my kids and adorable things like that unless it specifically involves stuff you were forced to watch because of the children.
All right, fair enough.
So that was your cue to go, though.
Yeah. So I was trying to think of like the things that I've seen that I've really liked, because I've watched a lot of stuff that I turned out to not like at all. But I will say that I saw the movie Blind Date, which is an early Bruce Willis film, with him and Kim Basinger, and sort of one of those like it all happened one night type of screwball comedies.
It was like his second film, wasn't it?
Something like it's like super early in his career. I mean, it's so early in his career that they mentioned several times that he's a jazz musician. So I mean, if you've ever seen the Seagram's wine cooler commercials, that you know that he is not in fact a jazz musician. But I really did like it. It was a lot of fun. And then I think my biggest fun discovery of the entire quarantine has been Gleaming the Cube, because that movie fucking owns, man.
I never can remember which one is Gleaming the Cube and which one is Thrashin'. They're both skateboard movies. They both came out within like a year or two of each other. I'm not entirely sure which is which. I saw both. One of them I saw in the theater and had a really memorable experience in the theater, but I'll be damned if I can tell you a damn thing about the movie.
Well, Thrashin' as Josh Brolin, and Gleaming the Cube has Christian Slater. So if it helps you, the mnemonic device you could use is Thrashin' Thanos.
Sure, but the problem is we didn't know who they were at the time. No one's like, hey, It's that guy I love from Heathers, because he damn sure wouldn't have been caught dead in Gleaming the Cube if he had already been in Heathers at that point.
Maybe so, but I fucking love it. It's a movie about skateboarding that also has this entire subplot about political intrigue, and it's not necessary at all, but it's awesome that it's there, and it's solved by skateboarding.
Well, yeah. As most problems in the 80s were, in fact. You know,
it's a simpler time.
You got to save the old rec center. What do?
Skateboard. Or possibly breakdance.
You got to fight off.
Cube.
You got to fight terrorists who are trying to destroy something in your town.
Skateboard.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, in fact, I always go in Air Force One, if they had just had a fucking skateboard on that plane, it would have been over in 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
Get off my half pipe.
You've been thrashed. Turns and looks at the camera. Radical.
We're writing this movie. This movie is happening.
I don't know if we could get Harrison Ford, though.
We could try.
I think you could. He did that terrible movie, Gary Oldman. What was that one called? Not
Air Force One. You're describing Air Force One.
It's not terrible.
It's got Liam Neeson and Amber Heard in it. I cannot think of the name of it, but it's such a piece of shit movie. I'm gonna have to look that up. It's gonna bother me.
With Harrison Ford,
Liam Neeson and Harrison Ford.
No, Gary Oldman and Harrison Ford. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know this one.
Yeah, like I mean, and Brian would be the go-to guy for movies that feature Gary Busey and Harrison Ford.
Wait,
Paranoia. That's it.
wait a minute.
That's
Hold
the
on.
one.
Hold on. Now we're playing telephone. Is it Gary Busey or Gary Oldman?
Gary
Gary
Oldman,
Oldman.
not Gary Busey. Yeah, not Gary Busey. Gary Busey, especially now, current Gary Busey, I would watch that movie.
Yeah, I watched a
Hey, look,
documentary.
I'm gonna get on a skateboard. It's gonna be radical.
Watched a documentary with him recently where he was talking about Point Break, and I'm just like, and he has more interview time than anybody on it because why? Of course you do, because he's fucking brain damaged, literally. And I'm kind of like, I'm just mortified whenever someone talks to him because you're like, dude, the guy doesn't know what's happening. Like you look at him and one eye is smaller than the other. I mean, like clearly his face is misshapen. And he's like, I don't know. All I know is there's fucking rabbits anywhere. I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. It's all the Democrats' fault.
So speaking of Gary Busey,
Yay.
there is a show on Amazon called Gary Busey Pet Judge, and it is the most wonderful thing. So that look is completely justified. So it is people having pet disputes, bring it to a courtroom that Gary Busey is presiding over, and it is the most wonderful show. It's only 6 episodes, half-hour piece. It's a damn shame it's not 24, but it's included with your Prime Video. If you have it, well worth watching.
I'm gonna guess that came out this year.
It did.
I find you in contempt of cat. Bailiff, take this man away. I would watch that fucking show. I would watch it.
Brian, watch it. Please watch it. It's one of those things that you don't know how much you love it until you're on the second episode.
I just waited, the time where he's convinced someone is actually like a horse who's wearing a human skin or something. Like a horse can't own a dog.
Or
You
he's
can't.
like stabbing the back of a horse. Like, there's another guy in the back of this.
That's horrible that exists, and I'm also strangely intrigued.
Chris, I'm telling you, you'll hate me when you're 10 minutes in the first episode. You're like, why did Hunter tell me to watch this? But in a weird way, seeing other people's lives be governed by Gary Busey makes me feel better about the world we're in right now.
That's oddly comforting.
Right?
Yes, my brother is correct, except that, let's be clear, Scorpion is the worst Mortal Kombat character when it comes to social distancing because he's always throwing that harpoon and being, get over here.
That's
he really
true.
Should be propelling them away and say, stay over there.
That's a very different Mortal Kombat right there. But you could be Sub-Zero. It's Sub-Zero, right? I can't remember.
I could be Sub-Zero.
Yeah, go ahead.
Scorpion's the one in yellow.
That's true.
I don't even know. I was more of a Tekken guy myself, if you will, but that apparently lost the war.
Fucking hipster.
Okay, well, Mortal Kombat it's kind of turned into almost like the Battlefield games, where it's like they put one out even when they're not feeling very inspired to do so. It's like, well, this is a brand name. We'll shove it out there for $60, and these nerds will buy it. The newest one I actually enjoyed. I love that fucking RoboCop is on there. I was like, all right, you have my money. But the Terminator, whoever's doing the voice for Arnold, which, what is he doing right now? Never Made, maybe, but he's not doing anything right now. He could voice it, but he won't. He's too proud to do it. It's like, I saw Junior. Come on, man. Put some money. Go ahead and voice this. But
I was talking to somebody not that long ago about those type of games, Mortal Kombat, Tekken. I don't even know. You know what I'm talking about. Injustice.
Soul Calibur,
yeah, Soul Calibur.
Yeah.
I was like, man, when I was younger, I used to play them all the time, but I can't do it now. My hands after 5 minutes are just numb. I can't. I'm like, ow, that hurts. I can't do it. And also, I would sit there and play, and I'd have all the things memorized, and my girlfriend at the time would sit next to me and just be like with the controller and beat me. And I'm like, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? But I was ultimately said, well, one of the main reasons I didn't care, they don't really have a story. I don't care. I want a game that's got a story. I like a story, so I'm going to get involved in. And he's like, oh, but Mortal Kombat does have a story. Come closer and I will tell it to you. And then he starts telling me the story. I'm like, that's fucking insane. You're like, yeah, it's not very good. It's like, what?
yeah. The Mortal Kombat storyline is just like find your favorite character and have fun fighting as them. Like if you want a fighting game that has a story, the Injustice games are a great place like to start personally, because I actually re-downloaded the first one because so we're at that point now because my girlfriend's been quarantining with me where there's certain games I can't play without her. So I'm replaying Batman Telltale right now. And she's like, don't go to episode 2 without me. I'm like, okay, fine. And I'm finishing Shadow of the Tomb Raider right now, which so far is just everything.
I'm enjoying that too. Everyone was talking shit about Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I played the first 2, went, these are great. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, like, it sucks. I'm like, this is just more of the same. I don't know what you guys are not liking here. But unfortunately, I got a controller that's doing that wonky thing now where suddenly it decides to go left or right for no reason, which means it's dying. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, so I got to play games that doesn't really matter with. So I've been playing games like, okay, I can do this one because it doesn't really matter if my guy goes, wait, I'm going this way.
Yeah, that's kind of important on Tomb Raider.
Yeah, no. Oh, it's impossible to play with any sort of like the thing for hold back the arrow also makes my character move forward now. I'm like, yeah, it's like I've just got to connect this rope to that thing on the other side of this cliff.
Yeah, that is one thing I actually appreciate about the Tomb Raider games is when you die in a brutal ass fashion. It's like, wow, like a stake through the head, or wolves tear you apart. Like, all right, that's unfortunate. Like,
Brian, you've got kids. Do you play games with them?
My youngest is obsessed with watching a playthrough of Luigi's Mansion 3. He doesn't like to play the game, but he'll just sit there it's a 7-hour fucking video on YouTube, and he just watches the playthrough of Luigi's Mansion. And he knows all the characters. He can quote shit from it, but he's like too young to, I guess, actually play it, but he loves to watch other people play it.
That's a major benefit for you. You got a kid, like, instead of going, Dad, they're like, shut up, Dad, I'm trying to watch Luigi.
Oh, yeah.
For 7 hours. That's the whole day. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you don't play any games yourself lately?
Actually, I am going to be getting back into games because I got a capture box for Father's Day. So I now have, along with that, I have a system that's a top-loading system that you can put in either NES, SNES, or Genesis games, into the different ports. So what we're going to be doing on the Junkfood Cinema Twitch is I'm going to be playing video games that are based on, Junkfood Cinema caliber movies.
Right.
So I'm going to be playing like the Last Action Hero game on Super Nintendo, and
Nice.
I don't know, the Gremlins 2 game on NES and stuff like that.
What systems did you say that you have access to through this? You said Super NES and Sega?
So NES, SNES, and Sega Genesis.
Okay. So nothing before or no other systems, just those?
I mean, I have some of the other. It's a capture card. Sorry, my brother keeps liking to correct me. It's a capture card, even though it's shaped like a fucking box. So get your shit together, gaming community. It's shaped like a fucking box, but it's a capture card. Okay, I'll play along. So I have some other systems that I could hook into it, but the one I'll probably be primarily using is the one with the top loader because I can kind of switch out different things.
I don't know why I thought of this because you were like criticizing card, not box, but I always thought box is one of the most boring words in the world. Like box, it's a box. There's nothing exciting. And on DC Comics, one of the big things is the mother box. They're like, oh, it's this thing and you can teleport. It's so powerful. It's like, should you call it like the mother gadget or chest or something? It's like mother box.
Mother cube sounds better.
Cube sounds like, ooh, that's mysterious. But box, you're like, okay, hey, can you go down to the UPS? We need some more mother boxes for the move. I don't, it's just not very fun.
Tell your children it's a capture card.
I stumbled across the Ultimate Danzig website that's like every single link to every single thing ever about Danzig except for actual just stuff you'd want to know about Danzig if you were a fan. So it was like joke pictures and parodies and comic strips featuring him being gay and having like various other famous punk rockers as his lovers and like just no end of crazy shit. And I was on that for like 9 hours.
Nice.
Very nice.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let us, and I know we have a lot of different stuff we're going to talk about, but one of the things we're going to talk about is a movie that Hunter and I got to see. I made Hunter see. which was Force of Nature. Wow. What were we thinking? What was I thinking? Why did I do that to you? I'm a terrible person.
I'm working on my written review. How do you spell excruciating? Because god damn it, this movie was... Brian, you know what? Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Brian had a chance to watch it and he was like, I'm good. You know what? You're a smarter than Chris and I, sir, because this movie's fucking garbage. Like, the only benefit that could come from this is that if we actually review it for the site.
Yeah, and here we are. Here we are doing it.
It's so goddamn bad. Like, I was 10 minutes in and I was annoyed because it was trying to do like a Bad Boys 2 opening with these sweeping shots of San Juan, but they clearly didn't have the budget. So they're like, oh, we'll kind of make it like a really bad Michael Bay impression. But also, I got my certification in Adobe Effects yesterday, so I want to have all these sweeping shots. It's a piece of garbage. Like, I have notes for it, but it's bad. It's fucking terrible.
Let me just say about this. First off, this is directed by Michael Polish, one of the so-called Polish brothers, who is married to Kate Bosworth, so that's why she's there.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
But this guy was like kind of like at like 20-something. He and his brother were like, whoa, like these indie like superstars when they did Twin Falls, Idaho and Norfolk. I mean, Roger Ebert were calling them geniuses who can't wait to see what they do next, who multiple times turned down major film studio offers so they could keep doing indie films. And guess what happens if you keep doing that long enough? Well, you get to direct Force of Nature, quite frankly, because eventually anyone with anything serious to offer you gives up, I guess. But this is written by Corey Miller. It's the first feature script this guy ever produced, who spent 4 years in internal affairs of the New York City Police Department and clearly didn't belong there, because this whole movie is how everyone but cops are bad and wrong. Whew.
Yeah, so it sounds like a great movie to release. Great movie to release right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, all right. So this takes place in San Juan, Puerto Rico during Hurricane Maria, so 2017, when we see Emile Hirsch as the co-star here, who also, like Mel Gibson, has a recent troubled past, but you know, he's practically Mother Teresa compared to Gibson, but that's neither here nor there. His career has suffered. But here we see him about to commit suicide in the bathtub. We find out that that's because his wife or girlfriend was a police officer as well, and she died. I'm going full spoiler on this, by the way. So if you're worried about being spoiled, people like turn away from it, because
we're doing you a favor.
Yeah. So like apparently he was making out with her in the car, and they got called in, and he didn't have to go, but she's like, oh, don't go, we're making out in the car. And he ended up shooting her in his apartment building. And it's the dumbest thing. First off, it's like, who does that? Like, right?
Yeah.
And second, they end with going like, well, this guy there like actually called the cops saying there was an armed intruder because they hadn't responded to his noise complaint from earlier. So you shooting that other cop wasn't your fault.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's how the movie justifies it. And by the way, they say nothing about the guy who called in that extra complaint. Like, apparently he just is living his best life, apparently consequence free, which is
that's his story. He's a uniformed police officer. He's out with a new uniformed police officer as well, his new partner, a female Latino cop. And the hurricane is setting in. They're sent to this apartment building on a call that he doesn't want to go to because he's like, fuck people. And like, yeah, but there's a cop who lives there who won't leave, an ex-cop, Mel Gibson. And he's like, well, as long as it's a cop, I guess I'll help them. I'm not even kidding. This is what this movie honestly says, with no sense of irony or needing to go back and revisit this and say that was wrong. But he goes there. Mel Gibson's real cranky. He needs a dialysis machine to keep going. And his daughter, Kate Bosworth, is like, you got to help him, get him out of here, because the power is going to go out. The dialysis machine's going to go out. He'll die, yada, yada, yada. He is a real asshole. He says one of his first lines is, current PD is full of pussies that care more about liability and politics. I'm staying here. So he's a wonderful guy. Gibson's daughter's trying to force him, says, you got to talk to him. You can't leave this girl here with him. Quote, he doesn't exactly respond to female authority. So the movie, of course, chooses to have him and the Latino cop be the partners up in the storyline. It also partners up this black guy who lives there, who is keeping a panther in his apartment for reasons that are only there So, because they couldn't figure out how else to kill the bad guy at the end of the movie.
David Zayas, who this is becoming his thing ever since Dexter ended. He's just been like, you need someone brown to be kind of intimidating and lead a group of people. David Zayas is your guy, not Dr. Zayas. That would have been way better, but David Zayas. And
he plays a character, I'm not even kidding, who calls himself John the Baptist. This is never explained, by the way, who is on an art heist, and they've tracked down the art to this guy who lives in this building whose dad was a Nazi.
Yeah,
they gave him all this,
say that.
Who gave him all this valuable stolen art. And so these guys have somehow found this out and are there trying to find this guy and find where the stolen art is in there. So that guy, the Nazi dude, is for some reason sitting with the black guy for most of the movie, having conversations about Nazis and art. And then Emil Hirsch and Gibson's nurse daughter, because they've got to have connections together, like they got to have some romance going on there, are together running around. Man, this movie is so ridiculously terrible. It's kind of racist. It's very
it is.
People suck, only cops matter. Very, very, very that. And it's got some of the worst dialogue. There's a line, David Ayers goes, "Will you let me know what it feels like for a bullet to go through your skin into your brain?" And her response is, "Why don't you go fuck yourself, cabron?"
This movie. So there is this point where the black guy, I'm not even going to say his character name. It doesn't fucking matter. Jigaboo, whatever. Like the black guy in this movie, he buys 100 pounds of meat, and you're sitting there, and this is like 10 minutes in. I'm going, okay, he's buying 100 pounds of meat. There's absolutely no reason for him to be doing this. And is only to set up the panther, the tiger. It could have been a fucking Pikachu for all we fucking know. Because when the creature pops out, it is Crash Bandicoot PS1 level CG. It's like they had all like whatever $1,000 they had left. They're like, we're putting it into this effect.
It's like the that's the only thing you saw, like moving down the screen like a sprite.
It's so unbelievably terrible, and the movie doesn't even have the budget to show the creature killing David Zayas' character, killing John the Baptist. It goes ahead and pans out. You just hear screams and gunshots and light flaring up in a room, and then it cuts the next scene of, oh man, wasn't that crazy when that happened? It's like, fuck you! Like
And also, Mel Gibson is rushing through every scene he's in. Clearly, he just wants this to be over. And there's scenes where he's supposed to be like, he's like walking around with a gun. And this is a guy who knows how to hold a gun, how to do scenes where you're like walking around with a gun. And here's Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Walking around with a gun come on, let's go, let's do this. And I was like, what is happening right now in this movie? I can't believe these are by guys who considered themselves thinking man's filmmakers, for lack of a better term, because this is this is past doing it just for the check. This is just bad.
So the entire time that you guys have been talking, I've been watching the first episode of Gary Busey Pet Judge. And I have to say, this is a real treat. I mean, Gary Busey,
you're welcome.
He looks like a wet Jane Lynch, and he's sitting there, and he actually said these words, which I think is very appropriate to this group, which is that, what is it, pun? That's like a verbal pimple on your face. He also thinks that kombucha is some type of porn, and did an impersonation of a mouse. So I guess what I'm saying is new favorite television show of all time.
I was gonna say, this does scream you. The only thing that'd be better is if at the end he got into a car chase trying to chase whoever he found to be the guilty party. That would be awesome.
His first verdict was have a Viking funeral for the cat. Next case.
But the cat's alive.
I said next case, God damn it.
No, there are some of the rulings he gives where you go, wait, what? And even they kind of look at him like, the fuck? And he's like, next case. And then they leave confused, and that makes me love the show more.
It's pretty amazing.
I will be checking that out, to be sure. Well, I said we were talking about movies. This is how do you say it? I said movies that have a strong weather element, but it's not the primary plot. There's no easy way to say that because this movie made me think of that. And there's a few examples out there. And it turned out the longer I looked, the more I found, I guess that counts. I mean, even The Wizard of Oz technically counts as that weird sub genre that I've invented.
Which is very specific,
Which is very specific. But the one that I kept coming back to in my head, because I just really love it, and I went back and rewatched it and said, man, I wasn't wrong. This movie is fun, is Crawl, which is like hurricane going on, girls like going back to like rescue her dad from his house because he's stubborn, won't leave his house from this hurricane that's supposed to be the hurricane to end all hurricanes. He's trapped into the house because there's a giant motherfucking man-eater crocodile down there with him. And then there's lots of crocodiles out of nowhere, and it's stupid and awesome.
It is stupid and awesome. I enjoyed that movie very much. I would say that the one problem it has is that her dad is suffering from a bad case of being Barry Pepper. But other than that, I think it was a very enjoyable. I don't think Barry Pepper is the most charismatic actor in the world. But I mean, for somebody who spends most of the movie with broken legs being dragged around a basement, he could pull that off.
Dude, it's amazing what he survives, quite frankly.
I mean,
how is that guy still alive?
and that is kind of one of those things it's one of those films that I remember seeing it like on a Tuesday, like a $5 movie Tuesday, because I saw the trailer. I went, this screams seeing this at 10 o'clock at night and getting home around midnight and kind of just laughing and having fun. And that's exactly what it is. It's one of those things where I go, hey, if you want to kind of like semi-roast it, but semi-love it at the same time, this is one of those movies to watch.
It delivers exactly what you want out of like people trapped in a house with that's flooding, and gradually the waters are getting higher and there's giant man-eating crocodiles everywhere. I mean, it's I watched it, I was like, there's very little more I could have asked of this film.
I don't know if you saw that Bat 42 said there are no basements in Florida. Yeah, I misspoke. It's actually a crawl space. Motherfuckers!
That's true.
God,
it's like a verbal. It's a verbal pimple on your face. That's what I'm calling it.
Yes, quoting Gary Busey, Pet Judge. Hell yeah.
There are scenes in there that you're going to go, that is so stupid. Why don't they just, you know what? Sometimes it's okay to just go with the flow.
If you can't go with the flow, you're not going to like that movie. Also, what you said about The Wizard of Oz technically being a natural disaster movie. Now I'm just imagining Dorothy going up to the wizard and being like, you haven't seen it, miss that house, and come after your uncle's farm.
We're coming up on the castle. That's no moon. I mean, speaking of that, I'm one of those people, I will defend Twister. I'm like, you cannot say Crawl is good and then turn around and the same thing and say Twister is bad. They're both dumb and they're both awesome. They're both because they're fun. Neither one is boring. They both have memorable characters. They do things you don't see coming that are unexpected. It doesn't matter that it's not plausible. It's the same cow.
Point, at some point it's okay to just, and I think that's one of the hard lines of being a critic is where's your line of plausibility blending with your like how much fun this is, because there's things that I enjoy that I acknowledge are not good movies, but if I'm entertained, like something like Alita, like there are points in the plot I was like, okay, that's a little far-fetched, but it's like, okay, am I having fun with this? Yeah, is Christoph Waltz way better in this than he's Inspector? Yeah, okay, cool. Like I'm willing to forgive a lot as long as I'm entertained. So.
I know that Brian has a different perspective. You're probably more forgiving than I am in terms of the dumb to good ratio of films. That's certainly not meant as an insult at all. It's just like,
no, you're absolutely right.
Okay.
I have what I call I have plausible deniability, in that I deny that plausibility means a goddamn thing. Because to me, as long as the movie is fun, plays by its own rules, and at the end of it scratches a particular itch for me, like it's like plenary indulgence. Come into my house and you're immediately forgiven for being a terrible movie. So
wow,
I get it. I'm there.
Is somebody taking a history of religion class in your house right now?
I'm married a Catholic, guys. I don't know what to tell you.
That's fair.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, big weather movies are always fun. I like that you tried to preface it as like weather movies where the weather isn't the central plot, which means that you can't talk about any movie where that weather is in the title. Like
True.
Twister is
Twister
right
is
out.
yeah, it's true.
You can't do like Avalanche. You'd have to change the name of the movie to like Geo Problem to be able to count that one. But,
I mean, San Andreas, that counts. I mean, earthquake is weather, I suppose.
Yeah, I was like, does Dante's Peak counting that?
No, see, I was like going to these. I was like, no earthquakes, no meteors, no dinosaurs coming back to life. I mean, all these things are in a way disaster movies, like, or definitely are disaster movies, but none of them are weather. I guess I don't know. I mean, quakes are that for me the one that I'm like, well, that's kind of the because every time there's a quake movie, there's also floods and shit at the same time. You know, it's like if there's a quake, there's probably like a tsunami or some shit as well.
But I guess my question is, if Dante's Peak is not a natural disaster movie, meaning the peak is not the central story, what is? Is it just about like Pierce Brosnan, handsome seismologist? Like what's the plot of that movie?
You've never seen the seismologist cut of that film?
Oh God, can we?
I rated about a 6.5.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I could go the rest of 2020 without hearing about another cut that's going to come out because that is getting out of control.
Dude, that thing with the guy saying there's a 3-hour cut of Batman Forever that definitely exists, and everyone's like, "Woo!" I'm like, "What are you talking about? You don't want to watch that." Brian wants to watch that.
Okay. So here's the thing that as soon as they announced the Snyder Cut, I was like, "Oh God, I see the very bad road that we're on." It was like we're going to hear about all these other movies that there are cuts for, and I'm just like, no, you had your chance. The movie's not good. Like, let's move on. Like the fact that David Ayer is actively pushing for the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. That's the last goddamn thing I want to see. Like I even told my friend, I was like, at this point, there's gonna be a Jonah Hex cut. Like that's like 2 hours instead of the 85 minutes it was. Like I don't need to see more of this shit. Can we just move on? Like there's already.
Okay. I thought you meant like a Jonah Hex, like the cut of Batman Forever was going to add Jonah Hex, and I'm like,
no.
I'd watch it then.
That's an interesting crossover.
I'd watch it then.
No, like, I mean, the only way, if they were like, there's a longer cut of Jonah Hex that features a whole subplot with Timothy Olyphant as a character, as a badass undead cowboy or some shit, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm fucking watching that. But no, it wouldn't be that. It'd be a bunch more bad special effects and Josh Brolin looking dour. I don't want to see that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right. It's like, not everything has to have a director's cut. And I'm sorry, Cargill. The director's cut of Daredevil is not significantly better.
It's so much worse. It's so much worse, guys.
So you know what's funny? I'm actually that person who actually likes the director's cut of Daredevil. I fully acknowledge it does not make the film much better. So let's just get that out of the way because the original
catch whatever you have.
That's fine. But the original cut of Daredevil is really. It's bad, especially when you watch the show. Oh god, see, you're part of the problem, Mike, because now we're gonna get more cuts of shit. Like, no more. Like,
yeah, there's very few films I require another cut of. Every once in a while, there's one that you'll go, you know what? That's almost there. It felt like it was missing stuff, and it felt like because we've seen those movies, like it felt like there was a subplot that's alluded to that never happened that would have made it better. Those are the ones that we never actually get the director's cut of.
Yeah,
I mean,
I actually got an early report of what we can expect from the Snyder Cut, which is 50% more Martha, 30% less color, and 40% more grim. So there you go.
Here's my problem with the Snyder Cut. So I do not love Man of Steel. I think it falls apart in the third act. I
agree with that.
I think BVS is one of the most frustrating movie experiences I've ever had in my life because I'm a huge fan of Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, and Superman, Batman, Apocalypse. Like, that's how you do a Superman, Batman film, and to get it so wrong in live action and have it be as long as it is downright maddening to me. So when I'm talking to my friends who are super like, oh man, the Snyder Cut's gonna like save everything, I'm like, you guys understand that he makes bad shit, and there is a world where this is horrendous and somehow worse than the last Justice League movie that we got, which I actually like. So I'm like, can we not act like this is just guaranteed to be, an amazing film? Because there's a world, I think, more often than not, or a more realistic chance that it's just going to be a bad movie.
No, I mean, and they've also like the idea. All right, so the last time I'm going to talk about this, for fuck's sakes. There is and never was a Snyder Cut. That has been confirmed by everyone involved. They are going in and they are changing stuff and adding special effects scenes and taking stuff that was never included in the cut, just deleted scenes, and assembling it to sell you something. That's it. They're not getting any more of the actors back together. There's not extensive periods of footage that wasn't used or subplots. It's really not going to be that different. I hate to tell you. It's just an excuse to make more money off you and to get you to shut the fuck up, which I am all for, you guys shutting the fuck up about it. And the fact that David Ayers is coming out going, well, the director's cut of my movie is actually better than the one y'all didn't like as well. Shut up. I don't care.
Yeah.
No one cares. Yeah. We're all trying to move on, and you're just ripping the scabs off. Let's just stop that and say, hey, look, we now have Shazam and Wonder Woman to play with. Let's be happy with those and try and figure out what worked and go forward from there. Let's not look back.
And I think that's the part that for me, I do like Marvel stuff more, but I am a fan of DC too. But I think that's what's so frustrating is that they're getting a little bit of momentum, but they're so intent on wanting to go backwards. It's like, this didn't work back here, so leave this alone. You don't need to do this. It's like, let's move on to what could be great. I'm curious what that fandom event is going to bring. I'm really curious what they're going to have.
Brian, I don't know if you've seen this. They're sending out marketing like crazy to press on it. So I thought maybe you've seen it, but this whole thing of like, it's the DC. It's like, because we can't be in person, it's the DC super special event and it's all online. It's going to be amazing. I'm like, you guys don't have anything. What are you going to put in there? The also, fandom,
a big online collection of DC fans. Thank you. I have Twitter. I'm okay.
Just to tell us how we're wrong for liking Marvel and that we're just biased. And the only reason we say we don't like DC is because we can't accept that Marvel things are terrible.
I'm going to say, this is my final thought, and I don't know how there's an argument after this. Say whatever you want about Batman Forever. Batman Forever does not have a major plot point revolving around a jar of piss.
That's true.
Why in the world do we have to say anything else?
I'm saying there's a way you could fix it all and move forward by when you do the next movie and you see Batman and Superman together, they're sitting there, they're having coffee in the background and they're laughing about something that you can't really make out, but it's like, Martha, why did you even say Martha? I don't know. It just popped in my head. I was like, I wouldn't know what you were talking about. And just like, they never explain it, but clearly they're laughing it off. And it's their way of going, okay, that didn't work. Let's move forward.
Yeah. I hope they get it together. I really do. But I think what they're going to announce a lot of. I think there will be a Black Adam. I think we're going to get a costume reveal on that. I think we're going to see the costume. I think we're going to get some HBO Max show updates. I stand by it. I want a Brandon Routh 8 to 10 episode limited series post Superman Returns. I think that'd actually be one of the best things they could announce since he was so great in Crisis. But I mean, I'm curious what they've got, but I am cautiously optimistic is what I'll say.
I don't know. Like I said, I just don't. Show me a good movie. I don't care if it's from DC or Marvel. I'm just like, I just want to see a good movie. When I talk shit about DC, it's just because they haven't put out a lot of great movies compared to Marvel's record, and that's it. It could change tomorrow, and I'd be like, yay, DC, Marvel, get it together. Oh, well, who cares? Brian, what else are you seeing that's turning you on? There's a bunch of bad genre TV out right now that keeps making me think of you going like, man, I bet you Brian likes this, like Warrior Nun.
Yeah, I bet Brian likes this is like, yeah, that sums it up. I actually have just started watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer because I'd never seen it before.
Wow.
Yeah, so I chose pretty much the exact time to get into a Joss Whedon property. But,
Yeah. Stop after season 5.
well, it's just
I
crazy.
disagree.
Like, well, I'm enjoying what I'm seeing so far. It's very Monster of the Week because the other show that I started watching that I'd never seen before was Beverly Hills 90210. So I am getting a healthy injection of the fucking 90s.
Yeah, you are.
With my binge watching.
So random.
That's really random. Why those two shows? Does anything to do with like your wife and what she wanted to watch as well, or is it just
90210 was definitely her.
Okay.
But I just got a smart TV in my bedroom, so when I'm working from home, I can now put things on in the background on this TV. So I just went to Hulu and I was like, what don't I know is there? And I just started flipping through the TV. It's like, oh, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I've literally never seen an episode. Why don't I try this? So yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, we have nothing but excess of stuff, of options out there to watch. We recently got Disney, HBO, and DC streaming, all through the largesse of family members sharing with us. And we're like, this is too much. I got too much now. I don't know what to do. I'm paralyzed with choices. And I'm glad that I have so much stuff I have to review for the site, because otherwise I would probably never actually watch anything. I just be like, nope, too much stuff to choose from. And now I'm like, okay, I guess I'm watching this. Like, we just watched Ju-on the Grudge, which, the new Origins series that's out on Netflix, the six episode Here's How the Grudge Happened. You know how the Grudge is kind of confusing? Well, that doesn't fix anything. So anyway.
Perfect.
Yeah, more on that at length in our review. But you know what? Let's go ahead and go to the challenge round. What do you say? And our challenge movie theme this week is going to be, of course, disaster movies. Not all of these are the so-called ones where the storm is a subplot more than the main plot. Some of them are the storm is the main plot as well. But none of these, I believe, are ones we specifically talked about so far. I could be wrong. And all of these are images taken from the movie posters of the movies in question that I have taken out the names of actors or movies where appropriate. So let's go. Wait, hold on. Let me put on my little banner here. Ta-da!
Nice.
Look at that. Hey there.
It's the challenge round.
Can you get some sparklers for it? That'd be cool. Yeah, make it light up.
I've had enough fireworks for one weekend, quite frankly. But our first one.
Oh yes, the
God,
hours, 13 hours, 77 hours, something hours. The Hours. Man.
Oh,
it's called The Hours.
It's just hours.
Damn it!
But I love how you were getting closer and closer. You're heading in on it. You're like inch by inch. That was the movie they put out like the weekend that Paul Walker died, pretty much. Because I remember we were like going to see, like, oh, it's on the schedule, and then it's like, oh, it's tomorrow. It's like Paul Walker just died. We're like, and now we got to watch this fucking movie.
Damn.
And then
that's
and then it's actually pretty good.
It is. It's the movie that will make you like Paul Walker the most, because you feel for him the whole time. He's actually doing a serviceable job, carrying an entire movie on his shoulders, and I actually enjoyed it quite a bit.
It's easily his best performance. Like, and I was like, wow,
I haven't seen it. That's funny.
I was like, this guy might actually have hope to move on to being even better. You know, I mean, I like the Fast and the Furious films a lot, but not in a way that those are really well done, great movies in terms of acting. Paul Walker had a bit of a growth period that took about 10 years as an actor. And he had finally sort of started to get it together when, let's move on to our next one.
Is that Key Largo?
It is indeed Key Largo. Plot. That's one of the ones where the storm is incidental, but a big part of the story, where they're all trapped
nice.
in a place while a hurricane rages around them. Definitely an all-time classic for sure. All right, I know there's no chance that Brian's not going to get this one, but what the hell?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yay! That's
what
Hard Rain.
It's Hard Rain with Morgan Freeman and Christian Slater. I have not seen this since it came out, and I remember I did not care for it, but maybe I'd like it better if I saw it now.
You're wrong. It's amazing. And
I've never seen that, actually. Okay.
Dude, I dig the shit out of that movie. That movie is like if the hurricane heist was done by competent people. Like it's really
Well, I added Gleaming the Cube to my Amazon Prime list, so I'll be watching that this week.
Good luck with that.
It's just gonna be a Christian Slater weekend for you, and I'm super happy about it.
I'll let you know, Brian. I'll let you know what I think.
Am I wrong, or has Christian Slater never actually been in a movie with Jack Nicholson?
I don't think he ever has.
Because he even admits, like, his career started by him essentially, like, I didn't know what to do, so I just did a Jack Nicholson impression. I always thought that was like just us making fun of him, but no, that's literally his affectation came from him doing a Jack Nicholson impression, and they liked it, so he just kept doing it.
Oh, that's funny.
You know when your mom tells you not to make that face because if someone slaps you on the back, it'll stay that way? He was doing that voice, and someone slapped him on the back, and it just stayed forever.
It'd be funny if, like, finally someone goes, Chris, you can stop it. Like, your career is kind of dead in the water. Like, I don't know what's next, but like, that's not working anymore. And he goes, and he just like suddenly sounds exactly like Paul Newman or somebody. You're like, wait, what? It's like, that's his natural voice. That's what he sounded like this whole time.
He comes back up with like, vanity, my favorite sin. And it's like, oh, shit. We're screwed. That is the Hereafter? Is that
which I don't think is a disaster movie.
The Hereafter? That's the one about it's the Clint Eastwood directed one about the tsunami.
Oh, is it? Okay, I don't barely even remember that movie. But this one is pretty good. It was by a director who had other hits before it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it, but I don't remember the name of it.
It is The Impossible.
Right, because that's Ewan McGregor. Yeah, no, I've seen the movie.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Naomi Watts. It had, to date, I think, the scariest and most realistic scene I've ever seen in a movie of a sudden flood just coming in and just dealing with that. I mean, I've certainly seen that in plenty of other movies. I've never seen one that handled it so frighteningly and realistically as that movie. I mean, it's not a huge part of the movie, but when it happens, it's really fucking scary. Like, I remember going, well, fuck that. I guess I won't go into a place that's flooding then. Right. That was on the table.
You were so gung-ho before.
Also frightening is the use of the song The Flood at the end of Hard Rain by Christian rock band Jars of Clay.
Is that true?
That is very true.
Yeah, I've actually saw Jars of Clay in concert in my teenage years.
You were trying to finger the same Christian girl I was. I think that's why you went. Because that's why I went to those.
So in my younger days, I went to church every Thursday and Sunday. That was a thing. And we went to Christian Woodstock, which I realize is such a contradiction. But yeah, Jars of Clay was one of the headliners one night.
What was it called?
Christian Woodstock. Spirit West Coast is what it was called. Yeah.
Wow. That had to have been the worst concert of all time.
So, you know what's funny is, like, going to church, there are actually some Christian artists, even though I haven't gone to church regularly in a decade, that are actually pretty good. But I remember getting this pamphlet of, like, oh, if you like 50 Cent, you'll love this Christian rapper. It's like, that's not true. It's like, this guy's not even close.
What Christian rockers are you talking about? I mean, there's rockers who are Christian, but they're not Christian rockers.
Well,
yeah.
I'm just now the main stage that would have been at Christian Woodstock. It's like DC Talk, The Anointed, Newsboys, Jars of Clay.
Yeah, Newsboys. Yep, Jars of Clay, Reliant K, if you want to go there.
I went to these fucking concerts. I'm not joking.
There you go. Wow. Chris's head is like, what is happening on here?
That's a lot of wasted, misspent youth, you guys.
I had a goal in mind, and I was trying to achieve it.
It wasn't getting laid, that's for sure.
Well, not for lack of trying by going to those terrible concerts.
Yeah, those. So it's very much like in The Boys when they have the whole Christian concert thing. I remember watching that scene, going, "Oh, this is bringing back memories I'm not super fond of."
Yeah, I've never had that experience. I can't share that one with you, and I feel fine with that. Let's go on to our next challenge.
Damn it!
Lost. God damn it! Robert Redford as Tom Hanks in Castaway. And without the volleyball, that is called All Is Lost.
That is correct, sir.
Damn you. That's right.
It's like Lost in Space, Lost at Sea.
The moment you started talking about Lost, you know where my head went. I'm just like, where's Grant?
Yeah.
No, we're talking. He's still online, like screaming at people who say Lost wasn't good, and I'm actually with them. I will defend it. I will stand for Lost and go, I think it's good all the way through it. There's things I would have done differently, but I'll say I think it's good all the way through it and well worth watching. But I saw him not that long ago just flat out getting mad at someone who was criticizing the last season. I'm like, dude, this is not the hill to die on anymore. Let's move on.
I was watching some show that made a reference to the Dharma Initiative, and I was like, wow, that's a great way to date this show.
Wow, considering it wasn't that long ago at all that we were all like going, I wonder what will happen next episode. But really obsessed about it.
Because of the ending of that show, it doesn't have really that much pop culture. It doesn't have a lot of shelf life in pop culture. Like, people aren't going to be talking about Lost, 5 or 6 years from now. They're really not talking too much about it now because of how poorly it ended. It went from a huge phenomena to this wet fart because of the ending. And like, it just doesn't have that same shelf life as other shows that came even before it.
I think part of the problem was that it did in fact not end in a way that made a lot of people satisfied. And also the promise of us getting shows that were these mystery box shows that were going to deliver never came true. Right?
Yeah.
Like, there were lots of imitators. They kind of all suck. There's only a few that I think are genuinely good, and they tend to be shorter lived ones, which another one was by the same guy who did one on HBO. It was like a 3-season one, The Leftovers. It's really good, but it's only 3 seasons and then done. But I feel like that whole mystery box thing just became like a dirty word in the way people talk about entertainment. So Lost didn't become as relevant as it might have otherwise, even though it certainly was one of the many shows that was responsible for television switching to more of a continuing storyline basis away from what it was before that, which was really everything was super episodic. Like, there's a slow transition of shows doing that, of building to more and more reoccurring elements, but it's funny how it all kind of happened real fast around somewhere between Babylon 5 and Lost.
Yeah, but I mean, the best of the imitators, the best of those mystery box shows to come after Lost, I think, is Gary Busey Pet Judge.
I think no one denies
it. Every episode, so.
So I never got into Lost, like, myself. Like, because I always hear mixed stuff on it because of the last season. Some people are like, don't even touch it, you'll just be disappointed, but other people are like, you need to fucking watch the show.
I think Lost is an incredibly well-made show, like really well-made, that a lot of people will tell you exactly the episode you can stop watching. I don't know when that is. I think it's sometime in season 5, like the post the Penny's Boat storyline that everyone knows, the thing with the guy from Lord of the Rings holding his sign up saying "Not Penny's Boat" written on his hand. I think it's a great show that once it wraps up all the side storylines, the primary storyline is not that satisfying of an end. But it's not like the worst thing ever. People are like, oh, it totally ruins it. No, it's just not the one that you theorized and went on websites reading opinions about what it was going to be. And it could have been better, to be sure. It's kind of my same problem with the Matrix sequels, where I'm like, this is like, we spent so much time thinking about what was going to happen next and having our own pet theories when it was none of those. We were like, I don't like it.
Yeah, I can't really talk shit about the end of Lost because, as Lou Rodrigue just brought up in the comment section, I'm actually going through The Sopranos again with my wife who's never seen it, and I love the ending of The Sopranos that everybody else thinks is utter dog shit, because I actually believe they gave us all the clues to know exactly what happens in that end moment. So to me, it didn't feel like an abrupt, like, blue ball of an ending. I was like, no, that's like it's all there. Like, I think it's very, very clear what happens, and it's a pretty great ending. Not to mention the fact that the opening episode of that last season of The Sopranos is one of the boldest pieces of television I've ever fucking seen. So I'm a big proponent of The Sopranos.
I have still not watched that final season, and I think it was because there was a big break at some point around the 4th or 5th season where there was like a much longer than usual break. And whatever was going on in my life, I was like, well, I don't have access to HBO right now, so I guess I'll see it eventually. And I never got around to seeing it. So I only read other people talking about it, going, oh, that sounds like it was a lame way to end. Maybe I won't watch it. But I've since heard many people, like Brian is saying, no, don't listen to those idiots. It's actually quite good.
I hear mixed. So for me, I got in Sopranos maybe 5 years after it ended. I was always Shield over Sopranos. That was always that show. I was like, that hit me right at the right time when FX was kind of starting to really start to crank out hits. And I remember going, the Shield's going to kind of be my show. And I love the way that show ends. I think it's
has a perfect end. Show. Yeah.
I think that.
Although we're so angry right now at police now, we're like, well, why didn't you blow them up with a rocket launcher? It felt like that would have been more.
Yeah, you can't really recommend anyone binge The Shield in 2020. Oh, you've never seen The Shield?
True.
Don't binge it.
Trust me, it's not a show.
These cops, and they're really corrupt, right? But you like them.
And they kill people left and right and get away with it. And it's like, let's not watch The Shield right now.
It is a really good show, but yeah.
Watch Jordan it in like 5 years.
I don't. Does that mean that Brian does not like the end of Mad Men, or that he does? I'm not sure if he's being sarcastic or not.
I very much like the end of Mad Men.
I think it's one of the all-time great endings.
It's not the ending I thought it was going to be. Actually, Grant and I had this whole theory that it was going to end with Don's suicide, and that the whole show had been building up to that with all of these like Easter eggs, and it turns out that's not what happened. It turns out, I mean, spoiler alert, he invents the greatest Coca-Cola jingle of all time. Is the end of the show, and I'm like, oh, because he's still fucking Don Draper no matter what happens, and he can't turn off the fact that he's great at what he does. And I was like, okay, I'm on board.
But it was like, it was that, but it was also sad. It was like, this guy's also trapped in being the guy who will never have any real warm connections with any other human being with trust. Like, he'll never be able to be that person. Like,
he chose to be someone else, and the person he chose to be is not the person he wants to be, and he's trapped in it. So
it's like
a prison of his own making that he can't escape.
It's the devil's advocate with a different ending.
It's a giant monkey's paw. It's a giant monkey's paw where it's like he made a wish to be somebody else. He got that opportunity and then realized that the person he got to be didn't make him happy either. But by that point, it was too late.
Yeah. Challenge round's not over. What's this one?
Burning Bright.
Wow, that was the one I thought for sure would stump you guys. I don't remember. I don't remember if I liked this one or not, but I do remember it was people trapped in a house with a tiger during a storm.
It's so bad, guys.
Is it
so fucking bad?
Okay,
never even heard of it.
I saw a short film, my very first Fantastic Fest I ever went to, that was called Tiger, Tiger, Burning Bright, which is the William Blake poem that movie's named after. And it was so much more interesting. It was like this beautiful animated thing. And then it's like I saw Burning Bright, and I was like, I'd rather just watch that short film again, because this is just not good at all.
I mean, I did definitely see it, and my mind does not recall anything, which probably just says, as I say, the little animated Carol Burnett in my brain just swept out the memory. Like, you won't be needing this. This is gone.
My whole thing is like, if the entire central conceit of your movie necessitates a tiger and you can't digitally animate a tiger, maybe don't make a fucking movie about someone trapped in a house with a tiger, because that's not great.
You have things that whenever people say them, your brain automatically hits to a response and you can't help it, and it starts to drive you crazy. Every time you or anyone says a tiger, I go, in Africa.
Solid.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so next one, you'll get this one.
2012? Oh, no, Day After Tomorrow.
No.
Really? Damn it.
Is that Geostorm?
Geostorm!
Oh, son of a bitch. Really? God, the one I don't guess. Damn it, Brian.
Geostorm.
I cannot wait to see the sequel, Greenland. I am fucking excited as all hell for that.
Oh, I can't believe they're making a sequel.
They are making a sequel?
They are making a sequel.
Sub-Zero. Okay. Yeah.
Wait, is Sub-Zero not white? He looks like the whitest guy on the planet.
I mean, he's like a demon. I guess he's vaguely Asian looking, but he's really just a demon. Like, it's weird to be like, that's clearly this race. And I'm like, Is it though? He's got white ping pong ball eyes. Like, what race is that? Whatever. It's, you know what? My name's Paul. This shit is between y'all.
Yeah.
That's a road that's just not worth going down, honestly.
But I'm glad that I heard it.
Yes, I would like to think of myself as a cultural.
Day after tomorrow. Come on.
Yes.
There we go.
Day after tomorrow.
Yeah, there was no chance y'all weren't going to get that one. I had to throw a couple. I almost put Wizard of Oz in there. I was like, no, that's too easy. There's no way you're not going to get that one. So that did not get included. This is another one that I actually, this is one I'm curious. I don't know if you saw it, Joshua. I'm sure that Brian did, but I don't know if he's going to get it or not.
Yes.
Oh God.
Is that Hurricane Heist?
No.
That's not Hurricane.
Oh my God. I reviewed this on my podcast. I'm so mad I'm blanking because this movie's so bad.
It is very bad.
Oh, it's so bad.
But it's not one of those like fifth tier movies. This got a wide theatrical release.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Why can't I think? Oh, is that Into the Storm?
It is Into the Storm. You didn't cheat by looking at the
go.
comment because Murder Burger doesn't know how to keep their mouth shut, do you?
Damn you, Murder Burger!
I did not actually look at the comments. I did not. I can say that proudly.
I think I saw that one too. It was like a
It's so bad
tornado movie. Wasn't it?
I want to say we saw that together, Brian.
We probably saw that together, but sweeping it out.
It feels like, yeah, I know. I barely remembered it. When I was doing my research, I was like, oh yeah, that's a movie I saw. I wonder what it was like. Oh wait, I can tell you what it was like. It was bad. All right, so our last one, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to pick the foreign movie poster for it. That'll cover it up.
That's Hurricane Heist.
That's Hurricane Heist. Yeah, which I have not seen, actually. Is Hurricane Heist?
It's enjoyable. It's definitely more enjoyable than the fucking Mel Gibson shit that you described.
Dude.
But
probably.
But it's not a great movie by any means, like even remotely. But there's literally a point, and this is my favorite thing. There's literally a point where the hurricane has a face, and it's like, well, it's like in Armageddon where the giant space rock growls, and you're like, wait a minute.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I mean, well, that was. Look, there's this thing where if you look at start going down the rabbit hole of sound editing guys who are like, oh, well, how we created the voice for Wookiees was, and this combination of all this cool stuff, or the way we made the Storm and Twister, and you're like, oh, this combination of cool stuff and subliminal things to make you afraid. And then you have the guys who did Day After Tomorrow. We're like, let's just have the Storm growl at people. Fuck it. Well, the Storm will be like, don't come in here, little man. What? That's what storms sound like. They do not. They don't sound
science. It's just science.
It's science. People took it too far. Yeah. It's funny that I see people defending some Roland Emmerich films, but shitting on 2012, where I'm like, that movie is dumb and fun in equal opportunity, in equal measures for me. I don't get why the specific hate for 2012. I'm like, yeah, it's ridiculous, but I can't think of anything in here is much more ridiculous than any given thing in any other Roland Emmerich film.
I mean,
it's no more absurd than Independence Day.
That's true, and it's also just the Mayans excusing Roland Emmerich's entire career because they're like, "Oh, here's a prophesied event that allows you to destroy landmarks, which is what you've been doing your entire fucking career."
That's very true. That's kind of his descriptor. Hi, I'm Roland Emmerich, and I blow up things you recognize for a living.
I just feel like he had a really traumatic trip to Washington, D.C. when he was a kid or something. Like something happened on that 6th grade trip that he is not talking about, but he is taking it out on some monuments.
I'll tell you though, I do love that we've all come around to Independence Day as fun, where that things don't make sense in it, that there's some obvious huge holes in it. Nobody gives a shit. It's fun. Shut up and just enjoy it.
So my girlfriend hadn't seen it until yesterday, so we watched it yesterday for the 4th, and there's a point I don't remember it being almost 2.5 hours. When I saw that, I was like, holy crap, what's this long? But to the credit of the movie, it flows decently well. It is dumb. God almighty, there's some parts where I was like, this is absurd, but I'm laughing, and I'm happy. Pretty much when the dog jumps into a little compartment away from the flames, I was just like, oh my God, this is happening. But it's a blast, though. It's a lot of fun.
But you can't sit there with a straight face and tell me you would not vote for Bill Pullman, because he is one of the greatest, legitimately greatest cinematic presidents in any film.
I agree with that.
And I actually woke up my wife yesterday on the 4th I went downstairs, I turned the Bluetooth speaker on, and I just played that speech. So she just heard from downstairs.
I'm sure she was thrilled.
And she's like, God damn it, he's not going to do the speech thing again. Oh, motherfucker. All right.
The speech is great too. I forgot
It's
how
so good.
genuinely, like, it's a really good speech. It was like, oh yeah, this is great.
Less than an hour, an aircraft from here will join others from around the world, and you will be launching the largest aerial battle in the history of mankind. Mankind! That word should have new meaning for all of us today. We can't be consumed by our petty differences anymore. We will be united.
This is
by
the perfect
our
thing.
common interests.
I'm so happy this
Perhaps
exists.
it's fate that
So
today
absurd.
is the 4th of July. And you will once again be fighting for our freedom.
Oh my
Not
God.
from tyranny,
Tyranny.
oppression, or
Tyranny.
persecution,
Yep.
but from annihilation.
Annihilation.
We're fighting for our right to live, to exist. And should we win the day, the 4th of July will no longer be
gonna
known
make us sit through
as
the
an
whole damn
American
thing.
holiday.
Yep. Well, it's not very long.
As the day when the world declared
long.
in one
All of a
voice,
sudden, this speech
we
feels really
will
long.
not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
That is a thing of beauty, ladies and gentlemen.
It's weird.
I was
that
thinking the same thing as
Yeah, it's weird that President Pullman starts telling really racist jokes immediately after that.
Yeah. That scene though, I mean,
God.
I know it's dumb, but that's the one I'm like, that's the one thing that's ever made me feel really patriotic in my life is that scene. But that is predicated on us being attacked by aliens. And I don't mean Mexicans.
No.
I mean actual aliens from outer space. In which case I will wave that flag and be like, yes, go America. Let's do this thing.
I mean,
But,
though you joke, but if they actually proposed to building a wall around the planet Earth, I might be for it. Because I've seen enough of these alien conquerors try to come down and blow up all the landmarks. I'm not having it.
It happens
Yeah,
more often than
like-
any of us want to admit.
honestly though, if aliens want to come down from the planet Oa and give me my Green Lantern ring, I'm totally down for that. I'm
Okay.
willing to.
Fucking sidebar. I need to talk about. So my son watches this show called Paw Patrol, right? Which is a bunch of fucking dogs with superpowers.
I'm sadly familiar with Paw Patrol. Yes.
If you've been to a toy store, which used to be a thing that existed, if you've been to a Target in the toy aisle, you're familiar with Paw Patrol because they're fucking everywhere, right? It's this Nickelodeon show.
Yeah.
But in this one iteration where all the dogs get superpowers, one of them, whose name is Rocky, his power is literally just the Green Lantern. He can manifest all of these things out of green energy, and I'm just like, that's just straight up the fucking Green Lantern. How is Nickelodeon not paying DC for this shit?
So I work with custom apparel. So there was this like 6-8 month gap where I was getting Paw Patrol orders like every day and having to tell parents, you can't print this, you can't print this, you can't print this. And then they're all like, why not? So I had to like dig a little bit into Paw Patrol canon so I could actually familiarize myself with what could pass and what couldn't. And I remember reading that too. I was going like, wait a minute, this can't be legal. Just go, oh, we're gonna take these powers that are the exact same as a very established character and go, kids, boom, and yeah, somehow it works.
Marvel and DC rip off each other so much. I'm not shocked when anybody else does it. I was watching for Digital Noise, which I didn't realize there was a animated Legion of Superheroes cartoon. It only was for 2 seasons. Well, at one point they introduced these characters who are straight up the Starjammers from Marvel. Like there's just no mistaking it. Those are the fucking Starjammers. Just different storyline purpose, but in look and style and everything. Like, no, that's the fucking Starjammers. I'm like, nobody says anything. Like, yeah, the whole history of those two comic companies is them ripping each other off and then being like, ah. I mean, even like Doom Patrol's really big right now. Doom Patrol came out the same month as the X-Men. The same month was the introduction of both those comic books. And they're both extremely similar when they started anyway.
That's a trip. I didn't know that.
Leader, guy in a wheelchair, gathering together a bunch of like society's rejects with powers who everybody doesn't like and forms a team with them and a school. I mean, but yeah, same month.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. Are y'all watching Doom Patrol, by the way?
I don't have this fancy DC network that y'all keep talking about.
Oh, it's on HBO now, too.
Oh, I need to get that, too. No, I'm pissed at HBO because they switched over from HBO Now to HBO Max before they had a deal in place with Roku. So I can't get I pay for the goddamn HBO Max. I can't watch it on my Roku. And they were like, all you need to do is update your app on your phone. So I do that. And it was like basically gotcha, because as soon as I deleted the HBO Now app, the Max app won't let me log in because my subscription is through my Roku.
Oh, that sucks.
Hardcore fucking me on this.
So can't you cancel the Roku subscription of it and then just resubscribe?
I could do that so I could watch it on my phone, but I still can't watch it on my TV because they won't settle their fucking deal with Roku.
Oh, because you use Roku for all your apps. Do you not have a PlayStation or anything like that hooked up?
I don't because I thought buying the Roku and already paying for the app would be enough. But no, apparently I have to pay for it and then just hope that someday they'll stop this pissing contest between Roku and HBO and just so I can fucking watch it again.
I will say you can get an Amazon Fire Stick for like $15.
Well, I might just do that then.
Yeah, which has got
so that is something, being a content creator, that is beyond maddening, because I went to go get HBO. I think I went to go get Apple TV to review Defending Jacob, and it was like, oh, you have a Samsung. We don't have a contract with them for Apple TV, so I had to buy a Roku so I could go ahead and actually watch Apple TV, and I canceled my DC Universe because, again, Samsung, no app. There's an app through Roku, but I'm like, okay, do I think DC Universe is going to last past another year? Probably not. So it's like, do I really want to sign up for it again? Not really. So I'm just kind of in a holding pattern for certain.
HBO is clearly in this sort of mid-period behind trying to keep people paying money for the DC service and slowly migrating it all to HBO Max. It's like they've already said Doom Patrol episodes are new there. Harley Quinn, not the new episodes, but the previous seasons, and I think Titans is on there too. It's clear they're going to shut down the DC thing or change it drastically at some point and just say, fuck it. All those shows are just part of HBO Max now, but haven't actually had that happen yet. I don't know. I mean, Doom Patrol is worth it. Harley Quinn is worth it. Everything else is meh.
I haven't watched either one yet. So I got a couple episodes in the Doom Patrol, and I can't remember what show came up that I switch over to, but I have it on my list. I've heard nothing but great things about Harley Quinn. I do want to watch it once it's on HBO Max, but
it's the Venture Brothers, but in DC Comics, basically. So
if
you like that sort of humor,
I do.
There you go. Well, we do have to wrap this one up. I'd like to thank you guys for joining me this week. Thank you, Hunter. We'll be hearing a lot more from you on the site, of course, as you're on tons of reviews.
a lot coming up. Yeah.
And then Brian Salisbury, you can hear, of course, on Junkfood Cinema, where he teams up with C. Robert Cargill and sometimes other folks to talk about the best worst of cinema that exists out there. Can you talk about anything that's upcoming on there?
Yes. I am currently in the process of editing a massive 4-hour episode on Last Action Hero that I did with Joe Lynch. This is a real thing that really exists. And we just did an episode on Hard Boiled, which was a lot of fun. So,
nice.
Yeah, and we also, if you want to become a patron, patreon.com/junkfoodcinema. I've started doing Zoom happy hours with patrons, and then we also have a Twitch channel where we do stuff. So lots of fun content. Nice.
And Hunter, you have your own podcast as well, right?
Oh, I do. Yeah, you can The Real Pineapple. So it's REEL Pineapple. You can find that wherever you listen to podcasts. So
All right. Well, thank you guys once again for joining me. That was a lot of fun. Who knew we could get so much mileage out of films where a storm is in it, but not necessarily the main aspect of the plot? Most complicated description of a show subtext ever.
You could have just called it #imperfectstorm and we would have gotten the same idea.
God damn it. I should ask you this stuff before we even get started.
I'm
but
just saying, man.
Oh, Brian.
Oh, Brian, you monster. I can't remember the con line. I was going to go with that. But anyway, we'll be back in another week with more live from the end of this world. Until then, Chris calling Orson. Come in, Orson. Chris calling Orson. Come in, Orson. This thing is out. Brian, did you build that outer space wall?
Ask your parents about the Orson reference.